and better protection for victims of family violence under newly passed laws. The government can also move in earlier to take action if the case is serious enough. Now, staying on that story, we're going to be speaking with senior social worker Yiu Xin Liang from Pave Integrated Services for Individual and Family Protection. Now, organizations like Pave were praised by Parliament for stepping up during COVID-19 as abuse cases rose, with more people staying at home. Thank you so much, Xin Liang, for joining us. Now, the latest change means that there is a younger victim from the age of 18 that can actually take action. From what you have seen at your work and the cases that you've been dealing with, is this a good move?
Yes, definitely we welcome this move because right now, or prior to the passing of the laws, there wasn't that protection for young persons from age 18 to 21 years old. The Children and Young Persons Act, it's only up till 18 years old. So that gap there is something that the amendments would be addressing.
Xin Liang, social service professionals might need to issue what are known as emergency orders, and that would be for a high-risk case. And that very issue was brought up in Parliament earlier this afternoon. Let's have a listen.
The emergency order is meant to be a stopgap measure. PPOs and other related court orders will continue to offer the main and longer-term protection against family violence. As a safeguard, protectors will be limited to making up to 4 emergency orders against a given perpetrator within 3 months. This period will give sufficient time for social service professionals to de-escalate the tension, put in place a safety plan for the survivor, provide the necessary intervention, and allow the survivors to apply for a PPO.
It's a big responsibility, Xin Liang, but would you say issuing these emergency orders, is it a difficult call to make?
This is a call that most of us would not take lightly. But having seen cases at Pave when there was imminent danger, but our hands were tied and we couldn't convince the survivors that there was serious dangers. And that is why these amendments would be a welcome move.
Now, the definition of domestic violence is also being looked at to be expanded to include emotional and psychological abuse. Now, some cases were raised in Parliament today, so maybe we should listen to that first.
Stakeholders have shared situations where perpetrators threaten to withhold monthly allowances from their spouses, constantly call their spouses to check on their whereabouts, and isolate them from their friends or family, including disallowing them to leave the house. If the spouses do not comply, they may be threatened by the perpetrator. These egregious forms of controlling behavior can cause distress or mental harm to a survivor and would be considered emotional or psychological abuse under the new bill.
Well, as you heard there, it's very difficult for such victims to start seeking help. So how do they go about looking for help, and how can you tell?
I think first and foremost, because emotional and psychological abuse can't be actually detected, can't be seen with the naked eye. Okay, but very oftentimes the psychological and the emotional abuse have very debilitating impact, such that it actually questions the core of who you are as a person, and doubt of you as a person as well. So in terms of how help can come in, definitely one is the information. Like what previously Ms. B actually mentioned about how actually the information is power, and once information comes in, they know what are certain resources that they can actually tap on. So one is actually the information, and secondly, once information has been actually reached, they can actually make take certain actions, whether it's the legal protection or even actually for counselling services to come in, not just for the individuals, but for the families as well.
And, you know, with psychological and emotional abuse being as impactful as it is on the individual, Xin Liang, you're saying that the kind of help that people will get, it will differ. It would be the same as victims of physical abuse as well?
It would be the same. Yeah. It would be the same. It's in cases In terms of the psychological and emotional abuse, this has all along been covered in the law as part of the personal protection order or the definition of family violence. But these amendments make it clearer for people to know that these types of coercive control are part of what we call as family violence.
Okay, so because it's not so much expanded but made clearer, as you said, so more people might realize, hey, I fall into this category. Then in your case, for organizations like yourself, would it mean a more workload, greater challenges ahead,
I think our main aim is actually to reach out to more people, more families who are going through such situations, who might not know that they can come forward for help or they don't know where they can seek help. So the increased workload and all that is secondary, I feel. The primary aim is to put out the message loud and clear that violence in the family is not tolerated and needs to stop.
It's so important for those who are being hurt out there to know that they can get the help.
Yes, they do.
Yeah. Xin Liang, thank you very much for coming into the studio and sharing all of that with us. Yiu Xin Liang, their senior social worker from Pave Integrated Services, talking to us about individual and family protection.